Have you left your address?
No, what's that?
Yeah, we'll send you some literature, yeah?
Listen, there's a programme on tonight at 10:30. Melvin Bragg. The kids are up there.
Is it tonight it's on?
Yeah, it's 10:30 tonight, isn't it?
Well, the South Bank show.
South Bank show.
If you keep an eye open for the South Bank show now,
It might be on tonight.
it may be on tonight. Well, I thought it was on in 2 weeks or so. But keep an eye on it. Right? This little girl was on. Maud Williams, a famous Welsh miners poet, was on, and several women from our own support group. You will see them, I feel sure. They'll tell you what support group they're from. So if you have a look at that South Bank show over the next fortnight or so, if it isn't on tonight, then we get home and get the address, the date. We'll tell you. You'll actually see this, in front of your very eyes on television. Then, because getting our message over on television is absolutely impossible. So when they asked us to take part in this discussion on how poetry, how the arts is being affected, even the arts are being affected by the strike. It was a great chance for us to get any sort of platform. Now, this little girl, I'll just say, my daddy is a miner, I'm proud to say, but lately it's hard without any pay. Can't buy any clothes, can't have a new bike. We barely manage for food because of the long strike. But I'm prepared to wait for my daddy is right. No matter how long it takes, we put up a good fight. So listen, McGregor, and you'd better listen well. We've dug in our heels and be prepared for a long, long spell. Within our communities there is something happening. So we look then to the broader sense. This exchange thing is a very important thing, I think. A problem shared is a problem halved, really, isn't it?
Well, Ali Thomas, our silent partner, he's the genius now getting food from a notoriously tight-fisted bunch of restaurants, the North Walian. And Ali spent most of his time up in Anglesey and North Wales, and he's fetched tons of food back there. Because, strange to say, you've got people out there who are prepared to support the miners to the hilt. Because in 1906, the South Wales miners gave the quarry workers a large donation when they were on strike, and they're talking about 1906, and you can see that, you can vouch for it.
People still remember the strike,
and that's where Ali spent most of his time, is in North Wales. He even talks North Walian now, which is a very bitter dialect. And that's where Alan has spent most of his time. He's done good work. He's fetched a lot of food back and a lot of money. He was an expert at picketing, what is that, power? Nuclear station, Wilva.
Russian in a minute, Tom.
Well, you did, you got an India. Yeah, we're all hardened criminals. So fingerprints are on file.
What kind of feeling do you get for the support? When you organised that £500, what kind of reaction was you getting?
Who's got a copy of Capital Guide to send me?
Because by any standards, it's
photograph in the game.
£500 is an enormous sum.
Not there as well, is it?
Doesn't do you justice. There's some spare copies to give to you.
Can I keep this,
Yeah. There's a letter on page 2 as well.
We've got about 4 or 5 articles in there.
If my wife knew my teacher was in here, she'd only bring in some copies back. Yes,
You wrote that.
History in America.
What page is it?
7.
I think it's all about education, really, isn't it? That the problems you've been having as a gay or lesbian group, that the message has never got over to the working class in the country because they've been satisfied with what they've read in the Sun. But what we must capitalise on now is that they know now that the Sun lies, they know that the BBC lies. So maybe it's lied about everything else in the past. So we've got to take this opportunity now and say, yes, it has. And the only way we can broaden the aspects, right, and broaden the base of the working class is by meeting people like you. But not only people like us meeting people like you, right? Because we are the activists within the groups anyway. But for you to meet ordinary ordinary minors and their families. I think that's very important. So that we break down these barriers that we've put up there for the last, 25, 30 years. The barriers that have kept us separate. That's kept London separate from the rich people in the south, separate from the north. All these barriers, we've got the best opportunity, I think, since the Second World War to start again in this country. Because the miners aren't ready to go back to work yet. I can tell you that now. In actual fact, I don't know when the job is going to be to get people like Ali back to work. I don't know. You've got to have a job to get from North Wales, isn't it? But I can tell you that they're not ready to go back to work yet. And the more pressure that Margaret Thatcher and the police state that we've got puts on them, the better it's going to be for people like us, because we believe that the strike isn't going to be just a strike to stop the pit closures. We believe that there's something more important to come out of it. So the only chance we've got is for this interchange between different sections of society, and this is why we welcome the opportunity. Obviously, the money is important, but what is as important then is that we break down the old barriers that have suited government, various governments, whether they be Labour or whether they've been Conservative. Is that at last we got a chance to break down the old ideas, because it would almost be like the slate being wiped clean. For many miners, they know that the press is lying to them continually. Let's capitalise on this now, and let's put some fresh ideas in its place.
I think what you're saying about your activists, I think I probably speak for a lot of people here, but a lot of us aren't from London. We are working class people from small industrial working class towns ourselves. And basically being the sort of people that we are, as well as gay, that we're political people, we found it very frustrating. And in a sense, I think for a lot of us, London's a sort of
Siberia.
And I mean, it would be so good in a sense that gay people didn't have to leave the local community because of ignorance and prejudice and whatever. And also, I think we're quite aware that whilst we call ourselves lesbians and gays support the miners, we're doing that as a self-conscious group that we are lesbians and gays who are actually in a position where we can put our name to it. There will be thousands of lesbians and gays throughout Britain today, members of the working class supporting the miners. But the whole point about being lesbian and gay in this society is that they're invisible, because they might be in your mining communities, but because of all the prejudice and ignorance, they don't tell you about it, And it's just double life, basically, that they're leading. You're sitting next to them in the welfare hall or whatever on a Saturday night, and they're gay, but they don't tell you. I think, what's going on now, hopefully, will make it easier for our gay brothers and sisters in places like Dubai to come out to you with confidence and say, well, I happen to be gay.
Yeah, well, there was a picture that I saw in one of the left press of two gay miners actually kissing, and it was in this big rally. So it shows that, finally these barriers are beginning to break down, which is really, it's so important, because there's been, there's absolutely nothing heard of gay struggles, lesbian struggles, black struggles, and there are a lot of things going on in London, and the links just aren't made, and so the strength is lost. Because, there's all these people here, right, and beforehand there weren't any, and, the links that we can make with so many other campaigns, we can make the link with the miners, we can collect money, and also with black campaigns, if we go out on the streets in support of, black comrades who are beaten up, as the Met, I mean, this is, they bear the brunt of the Metropolitan Police, then, they gain strength, which they don't otherwise have, because we're split up, and, everybody here is white, and that's another split as well,
Yeah, I think it's important what you were saying about we are getting support from lesbians and from gays, but what you're doing is also showing them that you're not afraid to associate with the politics of the country. So I'm sure it's a guiding light for people in the areas. Because let's be honest, South Wales is behind the rest of the country with its attitude to life. Even though the way of dress is very, I hate to use the word, but conservative compared with people in London. So this is the opportunity to break down some of those barriers, to say, look, that I'm a lesbian or I'm a gay, and then by you doing that, it'll make life easier for lesbians or gays within our own communities. Because quite frankly, it must be very hard, it must be hell for them to be thinking that, they're in very small communities, easily identifiable, if you like, if you decide to come out. And therefore you'd be the brunt of jokes that the propaganda has put up. But Tom can say a bit more about this because I think he's been a counsellor for many years now, and I would say that the society we're living in now, Tom, after the last 29 weeks, right, I think that from our own group, they are more tolerant of many, many things. They wouldn't even talk to someone in the next village because they had an argument 20 years ago. It's a fact, isn't it?
Well, I told you it's hillbilly country.
Yeah.
But in the last 10 years, I've seen a marked change. I was just saying today that at one time, at 40 years of age, I was the youngest Labour member in my particular area, with a large catchment area. Because to be a Labour councillor in my particular experience was that you were part of the establishment. You were a deacon in a chapel. You were a pit overman or a pit official. You were a JP. You know, they had you coming and going. You know, if you take my meaning, to break that system, you know, well, it was something, you know, that we had to carry on for about 10 years, and it's only, as I say, in the last, I would say, half a dozen, maybe more, I would say 10 years, that there has been a breakthrough. You've got a younger element, a more tolerant element within the political system in our areas now, you see. As I say, they're far more tolerant. They're far more tolerant of people who are different, if you take my meaning. Well, surely we can build on that. I'll tell you another thing, you know. I was glad when David approached me last Sunday, you know, and said where this money is coming from. Because I feel, you know, that at this particular time, the working class should be getting closer and closer together, no matter what faction, no matter what colour, race or creed. And I myself would welcome the chance to go into a black community. You know, we've had this distrust for years, you know, all minority groups that we see on television running bloody amok on the streets, but I would certainly welcome the chance to go into a black community now and ask them to be part and parcel of our movement. I know that they would be distrustful of us because we've been let down so many times in the past. I know, you know, the fact that we're white makes it 50% more difficult to get to know them because they've got this distrust of the white people or the white establishment. But if we could tell them that we've been treated in the same way as you've been treated, the same way as they've been treated on the streets in London, you know, that we are, you know, classed as animals and second-class citizens, you know, but because it's a fact, you know, for every good copper down with us, you know, that's the revelation, that the myth of the British Bobby has been destroyed for once and for all. You know, some of these people, they gloating in the fact that it's open season on miners.
Yeah. It's funny. I was up in Nottingham, you know, up near Ripley, and that's the first place that I came across the Metropolitan Police, and I've never seen anything like it. It's frightening, you know, to come up against these unsmiling machines, because that's what they are. And we had the odd situation. We went up to a place called Ripley in South Derbyshire, and we were living in Ripley, and we brought our own police force with us. The South Wales Police came up, like, you know, and they were in a couple of pubs around town, and the Metropolitan Police were there, and the Worcestershire Police were there. But at the end of the week, I can tell you what happened, right? The Metropolitan Police were fighting with the South Wales Police and the Worcestershire Police. Consequently, there were none of the police were allowed into the pubs in Ripley. It was a fair-sized town up there. The only people that were welcome in pubs were the pickets. And they had little enough money to spend there. But that sums up the Metropolitan Police for me. They frighten me. I'll be quite honest there now. I don't know whether living in. I have. Last week, when we were over in Greenwich, we were taking a collection around the street, you know, and we were being watched very, very closely by these policemen. But they'd been told not to cause any fuss at all in Greenwich that day, and you know, a lot of things happened where they wouldn't have happened had they happened, you know, closer to the centre, like. But I don't know whether I'd have the courage to be honest with what you're doing, to actually label myself as a minor support group, right? and then to say that you're gay or you're lesbian, because it must take a lot of courage, because what I've seen of these Metropolitan Police, they're frightening people. They frighten me anyway. So I admire what you're doing. Above all else, I admire it because we find enough difficulty